Welcome to the Shock Your Potential podcast with your host, Michael Sherlock. We all have potential, but sometimes we need inspiration to get us to our peak performance. Whether you are starting out in your career, ready to move up the corporate ladder, or taking the leap into entrepreneurship, Michael's guests provide powerful tools and resources to shock your potential. Shock Your Potential is a global professional development training company committed to your unique journey. Learn more about us today at shockyourpotential.com. Listen in to today's expert.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Shock Your Potential. And I am, of course, your host, Michael Sherlock. And all this month, we are learning from some incredibly smart people who are going to help us deal with something that's also incredibly important to us, and that is our money and how we all manage it to our hopefully betterment. And so my guest today has an amazing background. I think I have so many questions to ask her already. So Hilary Hendershott is the founder of Hendershott Wealth Management, which is a leading financial advisory and wealth coaching firm for women. And her mission is to motivate women and their loved ones to be financially empowered and to thrive, not just to survive, but to thrive. Her wealth coaching programs have enabled participants to take control of their money, learn healthy financial habits. As we know, we can all have some unhealthy ones, and to grow their individual wealth by millions of dollars. She's also the host of, get this, Profit Boss Radio, which I love the name of it, which is a weekly financial podcast where she and her guests offer women inspiration from their finances as well as actionable advice. And, you know, if we can be inspired by our finances, that's something to take home. She's also, get this, a TEDx speaker, has been featured in Wall Street Journal, NBC, ABC, Fox, Daily Worth, Forbes, and Investopedia. So basically, she's just not got enough time on her hands. And if that wasn't enough, she's been recognized as top 40 under 40 entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley in 2018, 2019, and 2020, which means that she's still under 40, and I'm much older than her. And she was also named by Investopedia as one of the top 100 most influential advisors in the US. Wow, I don't think there's enough ways that we can talk about all the credentials behind her. So I know she's going to have some great advice. Hilary, thank you so much for joining us today.
Gosh, thank you for reading that whole bio. I'm blown away.
I know you listen to it. You're like, I am amazing.
Let me clarify though, I am actually over 40. I only won the 40 under 40 one time, but it was when I was under 40, but I'm over 40 now.
Okay.
I didn't want any misunderstandings out there.
Well, that's true. You know what? And with those numbers, you could absolutely be over 40. Well, welcome to that. Even though I'm not into that club any longer, I'm out of that club and on to the next one.
Never the mind. Age is but a number.
See, now I can be in the top 60 under 60.
Oh yeah, girl. That's a big gap. That's a fierce competition.
I got many more years before I hit 60, so I'm in good shape.
You can run every year.
Exactly. Who's going to run against me, for crying out loud? Hilary, you have a great resume, and I love the fact that you are focused on women and financial empowerment with them. So tell us a little bit more about, in your own words, about you and your business and how you help those clients to shock their potential.
Yeah, you bet. So many years ago, I was a certified financial planner at night. I was working in my father's firm. So I was working with his high net worth clients. So I'm advising multimillionaires how to build investment portfolios. And I would come home at night to a stack of bills that I would not open because I could not pay them. So I was a person with a degree in economics. Like I said, I was a certified financial planner, yet I couldn't do the basic arithmetic of, well, if you can't pay off the credit card bill, don't spend that, right?
Oh, yeah.
I got myself into a financial crisis. I literally ran out of money, maxed out my credit cards, had to walk home from the gas station because I couldn't buy a tank of gas.
Oh.
And on that painful, shameful walk home, and I literally was, I'm making light of it now, but I really felt like, wow, my parents did me the honor of paying for me to complete a degree in economics. And I have done this with my life. Like, I'm really like the worst kind of person in society. And so I just really decided, I said, I can see how my life is going to go if I continue to do these things with money, if I continue to overspend. I have financial emergencies. I have massive debt. I pay a ton of interest fees. I actually, throughout the process, lost, I allowed a condo to go into foreclosure. So I lost that. But before that, I had one of those mortgages. I actually took one of those mortgages where the principal balance went up every month. It was called a
Oh,
pick a pay or an option arm. Yeah, no one should have had a loan like that, let alone me.
ah,
But of course, I would have borrowed any dollar you or anyone else would have given me at that time. And I just said, I looked around and I said, what's the difference between me and the people I see around me who are actually growing their wealth? It's not smart. Like, I'm a smart woman. It's 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 my behavior. I'm behaving
mm,
with money in ways that creates this result. And so behavior comes from psychology. And what
mhm,
I did was I set about to become an expert in money psychology. And I figured out the root of my problem, that I had this money belief that came from when I was a child. I unwound all of those behaviors. Along the way, my business started to thrive and grow. And I rebuilt the investment accounts and the retirement accounts. I paid off all the debt. And around the time I achieved financial independence, which means I now work because I want to, not because I have to, I looked
mm.
back and I said, you know what? If I can unravel this for people and teach it, I can really make a difference on the planet. And so that's what I set out to do. So we offer traditional financial planning, but then of course we offer this coaching program for people, entrepreneurs who really just can't make sense of their money. We always talk about money, business, like it's this path to freedom. And of course, wealth, that's really in the unsaid. So exciting to have a business and have business success, right? But then
Mhm.
most business owners never talk about money.
So true.
So that's what we
Yeah.
do, is help people really get a grasp on that conversation.
Hilary, your honesty is really inspiring because it's really easy to want to convey a sense of, I've got it all together, especially when you are working in a field where your reality is diametrically opposed to what you're saying. And I bet everyone listening can relate to this in some way, because there's always some part of our life that, even the Instagram world, that it looks perfect on, but it took 147 shots to get that perfect shot of you being exactly natural.
Right. Right.
And but the reality of it is we're all a little messy inside. And when we can acknowledge that, it helps us not only to break down barriers with others, but I think it allows ourselves to forgive ourselves as well.
It does. And I'll be honest, when I started telling that story publicly, I would be standing on stages and sharing that story. And I would be saying to myself, Hillary, what are you doing? These people are going to
Mhm.
lose all faith in you. Here, you hold yourself out to be a financial advisor. You can't even advise yourself, let alone other people, right? And I'll tell you that along the way, I was able to sort of walk through the eye of that needle. I let that shame go. That story no longer has any hold on me. I'll tell it in any room to anyone who will listen, because no matter where I am, it sets people free. So thanks for
Mhm.
acknowledging that. Thanks for hearing that.
Yeah, it's so important. When the pandemic hit this time last year, I with my business, 95% of my business income was dependent on me getting on an airplane to go speak and train somewhere. And I
Yeah.
knew before that wasn't a good idea. But, when things are rolling, you roll with it. So overnight, nothing, like everything stopped and my business had zero income. And I was telling this story, but I was also telling it through something on LinkedIn. And I was saying, so this is my, whatever, come to Jesus moment or whatever. And I have to acknowledge that I made a mistake in building my business this way. And I had a good speaker friend of mine call me and say, "Are you crazy? Why would you put that out there? People look at you as if you know what you're doing and you just told them that you didn't." And I said, "Yeah, so?"
Right. I'm just calling a spade a spade.
Like, and I had that same thing, like, oh my God, I am going to put this out there. But until I put it out there, I couldn't move past it.
Yeah.
I needed to get over my hurt and feeling with that and let it go too. So I can imagine that while you were saying, I can't believe I'm on stage talking and saying this, that probably every single person in that room, or at least the vast majority, is like, oh wow, I've been there. Oh wow, I've felt that. I've felt that pain, that fear, that trepidation, and that can really break down barriers for people.
It can. The most common thing that happens after I step off of a stage is people line up 10 deep to tell me their whole money story, right? So
Yeah.
it's my vulnerability invites theirs, and it's really a special place.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. So when people come to work with you, from this coaching standpoint, especially, you know, when they come, are they like, okay, I'm ready, let's go? Or are they like, okay, I think I want to do this. I'm pretty sure I want to do this, but I'm not 100%. Like, what do you get the mix of all that? What are the things they're feeling when they finally say, okay, I'm ready to do something about this?
Yeah. People can be in one of a number of places about money. So for entrepreneurs, for example, some people are running on the treadmill for years and years and years and years, and they're just never building wealth. And they can't figure
Mhm.
out why, but because they're so busy getting through the day to day, they're not
Yeah.
really thinking about it. And when I speak and I say to them, look, it's going to take X amount of dollars for you to ever stop working. Are you on your path to financial independence? If not, let's take a hard stop right now, right?
Mhm.
Because we all have the same amount of time in life. You can spend your time building wealth, or you can spend your time on that treadmill. And so,
Yeah.
a lot of people come in and they say, okay, I don't know what I've been doing wrong. I know it has something to do with my relationship to money, but they are
Mhm.
really willing to do the things, right? And then there are the people who they come in and, you know, bless them, they spend, a good amount of the beginning of our time together just in tears. It's
Yeah.
just like a massive breakdown about how money has always been for them and how it started with their parents usually and throughout their lives and they have to get through that upset and that hurt in order to write a different story about money, right?
Mhm.
And then there are people who typically they're sort of creative types who just have a different language that they use about money. And when they look out into the world, especially the language of the media and Wall Street, they don't hear themselves reflected. They don't
Oh yeah.
understand that kind of vocabulary. And so they kind of they eschew it for the most of their lives. And then when they hear me and how I talk about money, they often say to me, I have never heard someone speak about money the way you do. I've never heard myself reflected in some coaches or teachers language about money, and whatever you're offering, I want to move forward with money, and I know kind of that you're where I need to be right now. And so, I have a lot of space for wherever people begin, but
Mhm.
everyone who comes to me is struggling in some way in their relationship with money. And of course, when you own a business, you basically take your money beliefs and you throw them on the wall, sort of splat, and that's what your business is, right?
Oh
Because that's the
yeah.
only thing you know how to create.
Oh
And
yeah.
so through a combination of coaching tactics, we really transform that for people. I mean, we had 9 folks go through my coaching program 2 years ago, and in 24 months, we produced a $1.5 million difference in their net worth. It was
Wow.
it was huge. It was
Oh,
massive, right? That's
that
very
is.
fulfilling to say, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. We're making women wealthy, and we have men in our program too. So it's not
Mhm.
not to the exclusion of men, but it works.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting how many different people I have on in all of our series that work a lot with women. And, I think everybody's always of the mindset that, you're not trying to paint everybody with the same paintbrush. You're not trying to paint all women with the same paintbrush or say we're always that much different than men. But I mean, to be honest, we know that we tend to have some more hangups when it comes to money for whatever reason, and lots of reasons, but we have it. And as you were talking about, maybe speaking in a different language, I was thinking about a woman I had on the podcast in January, and her name is Heather Dominic, and she works with people that are considered, she calls them highly sensitive entrepreneurs. And
Mhm.
so she has this little quiz on her website, and I took it right before I was interviewing her. And so it asks you all these questions about, everything, and not just sensitive like you get your feelings hurt, but are you sensitive to other sounds? Are you sensitive to, environments and rooms? And it was so interesting because she has this spectrum of where people are. And like right as we were starting, she goes, well, what were your results? I said, I don't know. I just got them emailed to me. She's like, open them up. I said, "It says I'm a super uber highly sensitive." She's like, oh my God, you're me. And I went, well, what's that mean? But as I have listened to her things, it's allowed me to have a different language to talk about myself. And as I was hearing you talk about that, I think it's so aligned that maybe some of those highly sensitive people are also people that that would really appreciate your money language, because there are some people that just interact with the world differently, and the norms of things, for me, I don't like, I'm just actually starting to enjoy watching Kramer, on Mad Money, because he's crazy enough to make me actually interested in the stock market. But other than that, I'm like, I can't
Oh,
talk about those
Jim
things.
Cramer?
Oh, Jim Kramer. What did I say?
You
Oh
said
yeah, Kramer.
Kramer. I
Yeah,
just
Jim Kramer.
wasn't
I
sure
just
what.
call him Kramer.
Oh,
Yeah, Jim Kramer.
oh,
Yeah,
don't
because
watch Jim Cramer.
well, I just like him because
I
he's
think he's a
crazy.
felon. Isn't he a known criminal?
I have no idea, but he
He is
makes me.
very energetic.
He's very energetic, and he makes me not intimidated by the stock market. So
Oh,
I
is
guess
that right?
so my whole long convoluted story is, I love the fact that you're providing ways for people who are creative minded, or maybe not engaging in money talks, can understand that there are different dialogues to have with different people.
Yeah, the language of Wall Street is very ego-based, very competition, win-lose, zero-sum
Yeah.
game, right? It's all about more profit. And women, to touch on what you said, we tend to have more issues about money. We're not necessarily attracted to that dialogue. And
Right.
it doesn't have to be that way. We can grow wealth in the context of love and fulfillment and being influential and powerful and being, a fulfilled human being on the planet. It doesn't have to be the way Hollywood and the media present it. And I sort of rail against the media all the time because, there's so much printed about the economy and money in the media that just flat out isn't true, and not just printed,
Mhm.
but said out loud, right? And it leads people astray. It leads people to wondering, well, is it true that money is the root of all evil? If I'm a good, virtuous person, do I need to reject money or wealth in my life? And I am
Mhm.
a wholehearted no on that.
Yeah,
That the universe wants you to be rich.
absolutely.
Yeah, that they're not going to stop growing the amount of money on the planet anytime soon. So you can definitely have your fair share,
Yeah.
right? And that you should be taken care of and have, enough. You should have enough, or abundance, whatever that word is for you. I often call it financial independence, but that
Mhm.
whatever that number is for you, there's enough for you to have that, and for everyone else too as well.
Yeah. And if you want to continue to draw in more and want to share more, even better.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Mhm.
And, I mean, in my life, I've taken the position, well, I have enough. I'm going to continue to earn more while I make sure other people have enough.
Right.
Right. And we're really transforming people's lives through that channel, because money is a fundamental area of human concern. It isn't, I tell people in my coaching program, I don't actually really care about your money. What I care about is your freedom, your dignity, your freedom of choice, your ability to be generous, to be adventurous in life. It's those things that I care about. Your
Right.
happiness, really, because without money to do with which what you want, some of that is restricted. And in fact, some of it's impossible.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, as you go through this, I'm assuming you help people. I think, a lot of people think probably they know what they want, but until you really sit down and dissect, well, what does it mean to feel that financial independence, or to have that financial freedom? Do you go through that process with them, helping them to define what they truly want if they don't know it when they walk in the door?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, y- wow, guess I wasn't really prepared for that question. Let me think. Yes,
I
and
just
I
threw it
try
out
to,
there.
yeah, I try to be uninfluential. In other words, I think the process of coaching is all about starting with goals, right? So
Mhm.
the client has to say, well, this is my vision. And we can
Mhm.
certainly help you be in a situation or create an environment in which you feel free to dream and declare and set goals. And, a lot of people sort of run around like, the life I actually want is not possible. And so
Mhm.
inside that context, they're not going to dream big.
Right.
But part, sitting down and really allowing yourself space to dream about the future is that articulation. And I take the position with my clients and with my team. Look, it's their money. They get to do, it's their life. They get to do
Yep.
what they want with it, right? Of course, some of it has to look universal. There's a systemic nature to how we manage money in this country and on the planet. So, your bank account balance is going to look maybe identical to someone else's, but you're going to have a very different life. And that should be customized to you.
Right. And we are talking about so many things that I think really come down to people, embracing that they can control their money and that they can control their, money dialogues and their money futures. So everybody this month, all my guests, I've been asking, to share a couple top tips so that each of us can, learn a couple lessons from you that maybe your clients get to have the joy of learning when they work with you. So what are some of the thoughts that you have that you can share with us?
Yeah. So when I looked back at my own money journey, I said, let's create a simple framework for people to remember and that they can learn and implement in their own lives. So I'm going to walk you through my 7 steps to wealth framework, and just know as you're listening to this that the transformation really occurs as you embody each of these steps. So listening to it may not make a huge difference, but now you know it. And then the question is, where are you going to go implement that in your life? And when I look back, what I did see is that the very first thing I did was I literally decided. I said to myself, enough of this, whatever I'm doing about money, it's not working. I'm going to be willing to take different actions, because that's a vulnerable place in life. It's like, what I've been doing hasn't been working. Let's do something new. So that's the decision. And then the second step is speak. So I really invite you to take a catalog of the things that you believe and say about money. What are the words that you use to describe money? What's money's true nature? What do you think about when you see rich people? What do you think about when you see poor people? What is your description of money that what did your parents say about money that you took on? Or maybe you find yourself in rejection of, right? So you'll often find yourself either in your parents' money mindset, what I call your money operating system, or in rejection too. So for example, maybe your parents said you have to work hard for money, and you became a starving artist because you're just not going to work hard, right? That's just an example.
I'll show them.
Exactly. I mean, we really do that to our parents, right?
Yes.
I'm waiting to find out how my daughter embodies that with me. So the third step is plan. You really do have to organize your money, just like spring cleaning or putting your files in order in your cabinets. You've got to have a plan for your money. So many people spend hours and hours and hours laboring over a budget that they never do anything with or about. And budgeting, in my opinion, does not work for 99% of people. So I created a system I call automation, and we just divide money into categories based on when you decided to spend it. So you have yesterday's promises, today's fun, and tomorrow's dreams. It's very simple. So forget about the categories like utilities and personal toiletries and groceries and gifts. Forget about those. Every one of your decisions about money is either about you made in the past, or you're making it right now in the moment, or you're making it for your future. And that's how we organize money. And people in my coaching program get a customized automation plan for them. So then once you've begun to plan, now you earn. Of course, you have to earn money. And so you, as a business owner, look at your key performance indicators. What are the actions that you take that lead directly to profits? So you, as the CEO, until you have a VP of sales, you are the VP of sales.
Yes.
So you have to clear your calendar of all of the other activities that aren't producing profits. And then, of course, there's ask. So ask is negotiate or ask for things in the world, ask for affiliates, ask for business deals, ask for a discount. I have my coaching clients just go to Starbucks and ask for a discount on a cup of coffee just to build the muscle, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then, of course, there's invest, protect. Is that 7?
Invest, protect. That's 6.
So there's another step in there. So it's decide, speak, plan, earn, ask, invest, protect. That's 7.
We forgot earn. We didn't get earn in the middle of there.
I did. That's so the 7 steps. And of course, there are evidence-based ways to invest. You mentioned that women have issues about money. We tend to have real issues about investing. But there's so much intellectual capital and research about effective and really profitable ways to invest in the stock market. It's absolutely a place where a significant portion of your wealth can be expected to grow compound returns. So I show people easy ways to do that. And then, of course, you have to build a moat around it. So surround yourself with insurance and habits. And by the way, I don't sell insurance, so this isn't a pitch for insurance. But for example, an umbrella policy could really save your hide if you get into a couple of particular situations, right? So you want to make sure that you surround yourself with that ecosystem of things that's going to protect what you've built. There you go. 7 steps to wealth.
I think I just missed earn I think the earn was when you were talking about if you're VP of sales, then make sure you're getting the business. I was getting into that, but I was tying it in with the ask. I think it's a great way to look at it. And, And I think that, since I work with so many entrepreneurs as well, there's always this sense of, where do I need to be running in my business, kind of like running on the treadmill to earn. And all of us, no matter what we're doing, whether it's to spend time on our marketing plan, it's to work on our sales plan and strategy, is to stop and think and plan. And there's not much better you could do for yourself than spending time focusing on how your financial future can benefit it from a today and tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, money is one of the fundamental areas of human concern. And, you have your family, you have your health, you have your education, you have who you are in the world, like in your community, and money and spirituality are a couple of those concerns. And if you're not paying attention to money, your life is sort of off balance. There's a piece that's missing, right? And then sometimes people come to me after it's too late, unfortunately. So they're 70 years old and they have nothing saved. And it breaks my heart to say there just really isn't anything I can do for you. You're going to have to figure out a different way. And so, my invitation is to really get focused on that fundamental area of human concern, just become a wealth builder. I hate to say before it's too late, but in time, in a harmonious time in your life. And that time may be now.
Yeah, I love that. And you're right. I mean, it is hard to say before it's too late, but it can be if you keep putting it off and off and off and you don't face it or deal with it before, not just because it puts you in a bad situation, but just even if you have enough, it may not be the life you want to lead throughout retirement if you haven't built enough wealth prior to that.
Right. Exactly. And at that point, your options are limited.
Yeah, absolutely. Hilary, great information. I really value it. And we'll have all of your contact information on our show notes, but just in case somebody wants to look you up right now, because they're like, I need to work with this woman, what's the best way for them to find you quickly?
Sure. If you have room in your podcast lineup, check me out at Profit Boss Radio. And then you can find everything I do on the internet at hilaryhendershott.com. That's Hilary with one L and two T's, hilaryhendershott.com.
I love it.
Most misspelled name ever.
Later, I'll tell you how my husband describes how to spell his last name, which is Rasmussen. So we'll just leave that on the end. Hilary, before we go, do you have any last words of wisdom or pearls of advice for my listeners and viewers?
I would say if you heard something for yourself in today's conversation, take this as your opportunity to really decide to leave behind the patterns of the past and to create wealth in your life. That begins with your mind. So we've offered you ways to think about your money in new ways that can grow it today, and just take action. Get out there in the world, take action on that possibility.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your motivation and inspiration. It has been a pleasure having you on our podcast today.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Shock Your Potential podcast. Learn more about us today at shockyourpotential.com, including details on Michael's 2 best-selling books. Tell me more, how to ask the right questions and get the most out of your employees, and sales mixology, why the most potent sales and customer experiences follow a recipe for success. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and like us today.